Hey nerds and nerdettes, it's Rick here again, and not doing a review right now. I actually got a new subscriber by the name of Frito Dave yesterday. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Frito Dave requested, he looked at one of my older videos where I had done the custom of the DC Collectibles Arkham Knight figure and did some dry brushing. So he made a request that I do a tutorial, so I figured I would go ahead and do that. Now, he did ask some specific questions here. Let me cover that real quick in regards to the actual Arkham Knight figure. Let me move the light over here so we can get a better view. He just was curious on, how I got the paint applications on the blue for the Arkham Knight here. He just wanted to make sure, that he did it just like I did here, which I really appreciate that. Thank you. It's very flattering that you would ask that. Now, you were very curious on how I got it up to the the insignia here on his chest without going, bleeding into the white. Let me just tell you right off the bat. All right, right off the bat, there is no wrong way to do this kind of stuff. Now, I'm sure the way that I do things and maybe some of the stuff that I use, customizers, professional customizers will say that, they'll cringe, with some of the things, the way I do things or whatnot. And, that's fine. Everybody's got their own way of doing things. Some guys completely deconstruct a figure, tear it apart before they paint it and then put it all back together. I don't really care to do that. That's not my style, especially for what I do, which is just paint the figures and then put them on a shelf. There is no wrong way to do that. As long as you are having fun and the figure ends up looking the way that you want it to look, there is no wrong way to do that. And you can't mess up because everything can be fixed. So as far as, how I got it so close to the insignia, one thing I will recommend, let me get some of this plastic out of here. I'm always surrounded by plastic. Oh, the life of an action figure collector. I use, and excuse me, they're in water right now, but I use just cheap. There's no reason that this hobby needs to be expensive at all. So, some people will, and, they swear by using Testors model paints, which come in little tiny jars like this. They cost around $10 for a jar. They'll use $20 paintbrushes, $20 a paintbrush or something like that. There's absolutely no reason for that, especially for toys. Especially if you're not doing this to get paid and you're just doing it as a hobby. There's no reason to make this an expensive thing. We're already paying enough for figures. So I end up just using cheap Walmart brand paintbrushes. Now, I would recommend using specifically acrylic brushes. Or for acrylic paints, I should say, and look for the kind that have little points, like little pencil point, I guess, paintbrushes is what they would call them. I'm trying to get this to focus here. As you can see, tiny little guy. So yeah, it comes with a bunch of different brushes that are all different kind of shapes and sizes, whatnot. But once you get in closer to the details here, that's when you want to go to this little guy. And if you actually really look, if you get close to this guy, especially this guy, you can see, because of the color and how dark it is, I didn't really go up to the insignia. So it still looks kind of black around it if you really pay attention. Nobody would notice that unless I would have pointed that out. So, I mean, that's pretty much how you have to do that. You do want to have a steady hand. You do want to be careful when you're doing these kind of things. But in no way, again, does it need to be perfect. It's especially with something like the Arkham line, it's kind of gritty and grimy and dirty and whatnot. So you don't need it to be perfect. Now, as far as what paints I used, because he did ask that as well. Let me get this guy back over here. Again, I use cheap Walmart brands. Some guys swear by Models Tester paints, and I've used them. And to me, personally, I don't fault anybody for using those. If you like using those, to me, the only difference is they're more expensive. You can go to Walmart and get these paints. The most you're going to pay is maybe around $2 for these kind of paints. and you get a lot more quantity out of it, and it's, obviously it's going to last longer, and I personally, I think it lasts just as long. So what I used for the Arkham Knight there is this blue metallic. It's called Blue Sapphire here. This is from Folk Art. I use either Folk Art or Apple Barrel brand. Again, they work just as well. So you're going to look for superior coverage. It's metallic finish, acrylic paint. I will recommend, always get acrylic paint. Do not get enamel, because if you get enamel, that stuff gets tacky and gummy and it stinks, and it's really difficult to work with, and especially if you use acrylic paint brushes, you're going to ruin your brushes. So definitely make sure that you're getting acrylic paints. So what I did here, again, just the metallic Blue Sapphire. I mixed in a little of the Apple Barrel gloss because it's armor. I used the gloss black, again, acrylic. And then I just mixed that up a little bit, just dabs of the black with the blue, just tiny little dabs, and then just painted it on, just nice even coverage. And then as far as the eyes, I just used same brand of the Folk Art, metallic ice blue it's called, and it's going to be the plaid or whatever, down here that it says. And then I mixed that with, again, the Apple Barrel acrylic white. So easy peasy. Just make sure that you're only using dabs of the black and the white, and then that'll, you'll still maintain the base color that you want, which is the metallic-y blue and the lighter blue, but you'll get the mixed in black and white, just to kind of give it that little glowing appearance or the shiny appearance. So hopefully that explains that to you as far as, how to mix the paints together. I'm not very verbose, so I apologize. Okay, now as far as dry brushing. So what I've done here with, I'm going to use the Mattel Jarell figure here, because I'm painting the crap out of the Multiverse figures at the moment. Oh, we got a little chunk here. Let me fix real quick. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, I've already painted this guy. I've already done the prep work on the base coat. Let me see here if we can see. Here we go. Okay. On the back of the packaging, as you can see, he was this dark brown color, but if you recall in the movie, it was almost like a off-white bone color. So this isn't accurate at all to what he looked like in the actual movie. And that always bothered me. And I was looking forward to the DC Collectibles versions, but since we're not getting that version, obviously I have to make do with what we have. And I want every character in the DCEU because I'm such a huge fan. Yes, I even like Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman. So I want these to be accurate. So again, I've already done the prep work here because, just for the sake of time, kind of like a cooking show, I've got the already pre-done here for you. I used, in the case of this, I wanted the base to be a little bit darker of a tan here. So what you're going to do when you do... sorry, blanking out here. When you're doing dry brushing, and especially if you're doing something like the armor here, where you've got a base color that you want to use, and then you want to do the dry brush of a different color, is I would be very liberal with the paints here. When you're doing the first coat. Now this may actually take a couple coats. You may have to Jeez, got slop here. You may have to actually do a couple of coats here because you want it to be nice and even, and you want it to you want to make sure that you're getting every little crease and crevice and every little nook and cranny here. You want to fill every crevice here to make sure that you're getting that base. Is it still cool to say that's what she said? Because I think I'm going to say it right here. Fill every crevice. That's what she said. There it is. So you're going to want to make sure that you fill in every little detail. So be liberal with it. Try, again, you're going to mess up. It's going to happen, but everything is fixable, especially if you're using acrylic paints. I like using these kind of acrylic paints because they're cheap, they dry very fast, they're easy to work with. You can't really go wrong with them, in my opinion. You'll be painting up here, you'll move down here, and by the time you're done with this is already dry, so that's perfect. So you're going to want to add a couple layers. Make sure it's nice and smooth, that you're getting every little crevice and whatnot. And then you're going to let this dry. This isn't going to be like a one and done. It's going to take a couple minutes. Some time to get this done. Okay. So, how to dry brush. You know what? I am not going to use this brush. I like using flatter brushes when I'm doing dry brushing. That's good. Okay. So always, in the case of when you're doing dry brushing here, make sure that you've always got a paper towel or a towel or something handy. And again, like I said, there's no way to mess up here, but if you do mess up, it's easy to use. If you get a little bit of slop here where you don't want to, if the paint's still wet, just dab it off. Or if it's dry, use a fingernail and scratch it off. This stuff is so easy to work with. You really can't go wrong. I mean, if push comes to shove, you may have to repaint it. Big deal, you're already painting it. And if you're really that nervous about it, if it's a figure you really like and you don't really want to mess it up, then just, use a figure that you don't care about and give it a shot first. Use that as a prototype, I guess, if you want to call it. Use that as a template. So, okay. In this guy, I've already, again, put the base coat. It's a little bit darker of a color. It's more of a bone in the movie, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this paint here called Warm Buff, which I'm probably going to steal as my stripper name. And I'm going to pour it on out here on my little cloth. Okay. One thing I'll also say first is before you do anything with the painting here is I would give it a once over with a rag, maybe rinse it off a little bit, because a lot of these figures come with like an oil residue on it. Lubrication, I guess, to kind of keep the joints loose and to keep the figure, fresh and packaged. But that can make it difficult to apply some of the paints here. Just a recommendation, not necessary, but I do find it easier to work with. Okay, so we got a little bit of paint here on the brush, and then what I'm going to do, see how it's kind of like globbed on here? I'm going to just go like this, kind of give the rag here a little brush, and then very lightly, I'm going to start going like so. Now, I use just kind of like the flat end here, and kind of just give it a... You're just going to want to get the raised surfaces. Because again, this is like a bone-ish color. It's going to be a little bit tanner than the dark brown that they used. Like I said, I'm not very verbose, but you might lose me here because I'm concentrating. And because I want to get some of that base color, that brown base color that's underneath, I'm only going to give it really a once over. Now, there's going to be a couple globs and whatnot that I want to take care of here. So I'm just going to keep going like this over top of it until it looks like how I want it to look. Until it's kind of blended into that brown. There we go. See, so do you see how it's kind of getting the raised surfaces, but I'm still getting that base brown color poking up through? Get a little closer, bring a little bit more light into it. And that is basically what the armor looked like in the movie. It's hard to pick up. I can understand why Mattel did it the way they did it. But that is the color. And it's hard to pick up on camera, and with the lights it looks a little bit more white than what it is. Here, let me... There you go. See how it's kind of like a bone-ish color? Perfect. All right. So that's basically all you have to do. That's really as easy as dry brushing is just essentially, again, dabbing here, getting a little bit of paint on. You got a little bit of excess. Just paint your towel here that you're using to get the excess off. And then you're off and running, my friends. Again, I'm sure the way I do it is not optimal to a lot of customizers. I'm sure that they would do things differently, but you know what? Like I said, there is no wrong way to do this. And as long as you're having fun and you get the figure to look exactly how you want it to look, then you've already done it the right way. So I'm sure that there will be some customizers here, and I'm not faulting any of you. You do it how you do it. I commend you for it. But this is how I do my stuff. And I'm sure they'll come along and tell me how I'm doing things wrong, and that's fine and dandy. But hopefully, you know, that'll just give you a little insight into how I do my things, you know. I've been happy with how my figures have looked. And again, you really can't go wrong. Going cheap, going easy. Hopefully that helped. All right, guys. So I'm going to get to work on this guy. Hopefully that gave you a little insight into how to do dry brushing. Again, sorry I couldn't be, you know, a little bit more explanative, I guess is the word I'm looking for here. But, you know, I'm pretty much a novice myself. I do this for a hobby. It's not really a job, but there it is. All right, guys. So if you have any other questions, concerns, whatever, I will absolutely try to answer them. Put some comments or questions down below, and I will do my best to answer them. And otherwise, if you like what you see, please subscribe.